because I don't know that for that. Okay, let's see. Now we're back. Hello. No more breaks ever because it always just goes crazy. So let's go back.
A pair of glasses that he wears or something?
Let's see. So some of you did y'all all get the graph paper that I sent by email?
Yes.
So if you look at that, can you determine the blocks on it, the big blocks to the little blocks?
Yes.
Okay. So it should, you can see my paper. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
So it should you should always have this. This is kind of light, but you know that there's 5 blocks in there, right? In one of these big blocks. Okay. Everybody gets that? Understand? Can calculate that?
There's 5.
There's 5 within within the little one. You know what I'm talking about? Let me show you another picture of it.
Yes.
So if you're looking at this, let me see. Can y'all see that where it says normal sinus rhythm?
Oh, okay.
Those bigger blocks here, there's 5 little ones within that, right? Can y'all see my screen?
Yeah.
And it says normal sinus rhythm?
Yes.
Okay, so this is what normal sinus should look like, right? So how many complexes do you see in this 6-second strip? Because you're always going to be given 6-second strips. That's what they are. How many do you guys see?
7.
7.
So is it 60 to 100? Yes. Is it regular? Meaning, can we march this out? This is where you would use your calipers
Yes.
or a piece of paper. But if you can count from, well, let me show, from here to here, right? You know, I'm going to try to draw on this thing, and that's when it's going to cause a problem. If it goes from here to here, and how many blocks is that? Well, let's see.
5.
From here to here is 1, 2. I see
4.
3 whole ones, and then I see 3 little blocks on this side and 2 on that side. Does everybody agree with that?
Yes.
So how many little blocks then do we have?
20.
So we have 3
20.
times 5, right? And then we have 5 more. So we have 20. We have 20 little blocks, right? And we know that they're how much?
0.04.
0.04, right? So again, you can tell everything about counting these blocks, but for right this minute, they're all even. You can count them again. Even though these don't fall right on the line, is this all, do they march out? Yes. You can march them right out. You can use your calipers like this on your paper, and you should never have to adjust this part because it will be that many, and you can literally march it across your paper. You can move it across your paper and never move this part. If you have to move this part, is that regular?
No. No.
No, because it should always be the same. There's a P wave before each PRS. Your PR interval, anybody can stab at what the PR is? What's the PR? It's on my thing. If your PR interval, where does it start? The beginning of the P, right? And to the beginning of the R. Well, that's too thick. I think we need to measure it out. I'm gonna use my calipers, right? So if I look at it, for me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 blocks maybe. So can y'all agree? See that? How many blocks is that?
Where are you at?
Can you still see my screen?
Yes.
See my arrow?
Uh-huh.
Where's my PR interval? Starts where? Right here where this lifts off the page?
Right.
And it goes to here, right? Where the PRS starts?
Right.
So I put my caliper at the beginning here, and the other little pointy part here, how many blocks is that?
Just one,
Four.
not even one.
Oh, no,
Four?
I'm talking about
Oh,
little
the
blocks.
mini ones?
Yep, measure that out. Measure, like, even if you try to eyeball it, I see, let's see, one, well, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, and a little bit, so 4. Did I get anything different?
No.
So if my PR interval is if it's 4 little blocks, how much is that? 0.4 times
16.
0.16.
0.16. Is that right? Is that normal?
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. So it's falling in here. So now my QRS, it should be less than 0.12, right? So if I measure it, and I can see it better down here, but you can, this is just a different deflection, right? But how many blocks is that? 1 maybe? 1?
Mhm.
Y'all agree that that's 1 block from the Q to the S? Well, no, let's see. It's
Half
probably
a block, maybe.
maybe 1.5, but can y'all, is
Mhm.
it less than 0.12?
Yes.
Yeah, because it's not 3 blocks wide. So again, our QRS is normal. This is what normal sinus rhythm looks like. So when you look at that EKG, you have to have all these components, right? You got to have a P wave. You got to have 1 QRS to 1 P. You got to have your T wave. They got to measure out. The P wave looks normal. How would you describe the P wave?
Positive and round.
Right? It's rounded. It looks good. Is there 1 P wave for every QRS?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So
Mhm.
then can we call this normal sinus rhythm?
Yes.
Yeah. We can definitely call it normal sinus
Yes.
rhythm. So let's go back to this and hopefully it will not. Okay, can y'all see this one? The ones that are regular?
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, we're gonna ask ourselves, what's the rate? What is the only way we can determine that if
The
this is
6 second.
irregular? A 6 second, right? Can we measure, can we do this 1500 or 300?
No,
Why not?
because there'll be different amounts between each heart
Exactly.
rate.
So we know this is a 6 second strip. We can eyeball it and tell you that it's not regular. Can everybody see that? When you look at that, even just not knowing anything, and tell me that that's not regular?
Yes.
Right, it is irregular. What? But again, let's decide how we know that it's irregular, right? Because, let me just try this again. I'm trying to move this thing. Hold on. Why won't this move? Hot. Will move. Yay. Okay. Let's go way down here. So let's pick a different color. Now, so we know this is irregular, okay? Now, we can't decide this any other way. So here's our 6 second strip. Let's look at this row here. So count these complexes. How many do y'all see? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So can you tell me exactly what the heart rate is?
It's about 80.
It's about 80. It's approximately 80 because it's irregular. So if really as a nurse or as a EKG tech or what, if you're listening, if you're feeling someone's heart rate to do vital signs and it's irregular, do you think you can write down after 15 seconds what it is? No, you have to really listen or feel for a whole minute because it's irregular. And you're always going to say it's irregular. So we're going to say that this heart rate is approximately 80, right? That's all we can get from this. Could we use any other method?
No.
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 Actually, doing it this way is your best way to do it, the easiest way to do it. But knowing the other ways to do it is something you have to know. So we'll get there. But again, this is 80. So we know already what are our first thing. It's rate is 80. Is it irregular or regular?
Irregular.
Irregular. Okay. Now what else do we look for? What's our next thing on our list?
Presence or absence of P wave?
P wave.
Okay.
There's
So
no
here's the
P
thing.
wave.
Well, do we know that? Like how do we know? Like we're looking for this. Do they all look alike? Like, do these complexes at all look alike? Not really. That's a P wave right there. You can't see it there. That may be one. That may be one. But do you see, that's what we're looking for, a P wave before each. Are they regular? Are they alike? No, they're
No.
vastly different. But can you find one? Yeah. So that's why you got to look and say, well, okay, so now I know that my P waves are very irregular. They are, honestly, can you describe the morphology? God, Lord, that's loud. Can you describe the morphology of that? Not really. Is there one-to-one? Sort of. So, okay. So then we're going to move on. What's our next thing? Is our PR interval. Can you actually measure that?
No.
How would you measure it? You wouldn't. How about your QRS? Look how wide that is. So this QRS is pretty wide, is it not? Like, it's pretty, like, I would say at least 2 whole blocks, maybe more. So is it less than 0.12?
No.
I mean, it might be because it's 0. Like, what's your second? 0.04, right? But look how wide this one is. Like, again, this is all over the place. This is not normal sinus rhythm. You will answer the questions when you get down and you learn the others, but this is just to show you we're calculating heart rate. So if I ask you, what is this rate and regularity? What are you going to tell me? It's 80 and irregular.
Irregular.
Everybody agree on that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So let's share here. I like this. Okay. So let's go back here and let's look at this. I think I sent you guys this. What is that, a bird?
I hear a bird.
That's a bird?
Oh no, he never
You
shuts
got just
up.
Animal Kingdom over there. I thought I had the zoo over at my house, but you got all kinds of good stuff.
He is very violent.
Violent?
Yeah, like he'll headbutt his own self in the mirror.
Well, see, I don't like a bird. I'll take any of them, but I don't want a bird.
But he's singing when he does it, so I don't know.
He's
Maybe he's
psychotic bird.
headbanging to his own music. I don't know.
Yeah.
Psychotic bird, which I don't know. Birds are just freak me out.
What kind of bird is it?
The
It's just a
psychotic one.
parakeet.
Aw, cute.
Mhm.
So ow, ow.
They are
Y'all
so messy.
They are just, yeah, they flatten me. Did y'all get this?
No.
Did y'all not get this handout from me? Can y'all see
I
it?
don't think so.
Where it says
No.
ECG basics? I'll send y'all this. But again, it's pretty much, I mean, it looks complicated, but it really isn't. It gives you all these things you need to know. 1 millimeter is a small square. It's 0.04. Number of blocks. This little chart, a lot of people use this chart. I don't like to try to memorize a chart. But again, it's telling you here how to use your large block method and your small block. But again, when can you only use those? If their heart rate is regular, right?
So is everything open down
So
there?
for slow or irregular, you're gonna get the number of complexes times 10. For very fast ones, you do want to use the little ones because it's going to give you a better picture of what the rate is. But they all have to be regular, because if it's not, then you can only do the 6 second. I'll send y'all this. That's a good good handout to have. Let's go back. Let's look at this. You tell me what this is. Let me share this. Can y'all see this one that's just the gray paper with the...
Mhm.
Okay,
Yes.
so tell me, if this was a 6 second strip, which we're not, we're just seeing a blip because I want you to see this complex. So let's just say it was a 6 second strip and you counted it, because here we're seeing, how many are we seeing in this box? Can we
6.
count that one really as a
Yeah.
heartbeat? Can we?
Well,
Are we seeing the whole thing?
no.
So if you have one that falls right there, I wouldn't count it. I mean, you could, but again, are you seeing the whole thing? So let's just count it as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Are we seeing 6? Yeah. So what's our rate?
60.
How you spell Gene? Gene?
So, yeah, okay. Our rate is 60.
Trevor just wanted to go buy a boat.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh, I got to mute somebody. Who is this? That's you.
That's me.
Oh, that's okay. I just was like, oh, I was getting interested in what y'all were doing instead of what I was doing. As y'all tell, I have ADD really bad. Yeah. Look, she said, yeah. So what's our rate? What's the rate?
60.
Okay. Now, what's the next thing we're looking for in determining this rhythm? What are we looking for? Right. Is it? I mean,
Regular,
if
irregular.
we only look at, okay, let's just take this little piece here. We know we already called it 60, right? But let's just take these 3 right here. Okay. Let me go to red here. So let's take these 3. Are those regular?
No.
Why not?
Yes. Yes, it is.
What would you do with your calipers? Those march out. Let's look. Is there, okay, so there's 1, 2 blocks here. We know that's 5. We know that's 5. We know that's 5. There's another one. So that's 5, 10, 15, 16, 17, 18. So then if you go over here, there's 4. There's another. That would be 18 or 19. Would we call that regular? Because are we really actually, we're just eyeballing it, right? So then we go over here. Let's say there's 3, 5. That's 8, 13, 18, 19. So basically, we're having about 19 boxes, little boxes in between each one. So is that regular?
Yes.
Could you march your calipers across that?
Yes.
So we're
Yes.
going to say the heart rate is 60. It's regular. Okay. Now what are we looking for?
Presence or absence.
P-wave.
Do y'all see P waves? Okay, let's look at hold on. Get rid of this. So do y'all see a P wave? Just pick out 2 complex. Let's look at these 2. We already know we're regular. Do you see P waves?
Yes.
Mhm.
Do you see one here? Do y'all agree that's P wave?
No.
Why not? Why isn't it?
I thought the P wave comes before the QR. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, it does.
Right? Okay. So is this a P
No,
wave?
Karen. I was looking at the tail end of it. I'm, like from the where you first circled.
That's why you have to pick out some complexes to look at. So we're going to look at this one and we're going to look at this one, because a complex involves what? A P, a QRS, and a T. Sometimes you can't make them out. Sometimes it's all bunched up together. The heart rate's too fast. But in a heart rate like this, we can see them, right? So
Yeah.
can everybody agree that those are P waves?
Yes.
Do they look alike?
Yes.
They do?
No.
One's small.
I mean, they're
Mm-mm. Look, let's go back. Does this P wave look like this one?
no, that one don't.
They don't look alike. Mm-mm. This one kind of does. But again, I see a problem here regardless of what that looks like. So we're going to go back here. Let me take this off. So we got, what's our question? Presence or absence of P wave? Okay, yeah, they're there. What does it look like? Are they rounded?
One of them is.
Are they really rounded?
No.
They go up, they're positive.
They're
Is it
positive
nice and pretty like
deflection.
it should be?
No.
Why? We're going to say that's like notched on the top. That's what you call that. See how it has that like notch on the top? You would not be wrong for describing that as upward, notched. Okay, that would be about all you could call it.
What does it mean? How did it how the impulse happen? That is notched.
It's still beating. There's just a problem there. There's just something going on. Anything that doesn't look regular means there's just something going on. I can tell you what this is without even doing it. But again, I'm not the one taking the class. Again, so here we go. We'll get to that. But again, so what are we saying? It's regular. It's 60 or our P wave. Is there one P wave for every Q? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to say here, okay, so I'm going to write my P and I'm going to say there's 1 to 1, right? Is it rounded? No. I'm going to say it's notched. That's what I'm going to call it. And I'm going to say it's positive, right? It's deflection. It has positive deflection upward, right?
Yes.
Okay, now what do we do?
Length of
As
PR.
of the length of the PR interval.
Okay, well, let's do that. So our PR interval starts here, right? And it goes to here. Is everybody in agreement with that?
Mm-hmm.
It starts here. Now, without even measuring that, do y'all see a problem?
Yes.
I can tell you there's a problem just by looking at it. Look how wide that is. Now, let's count
Big
them.
space.
Is it, so there's how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 maybe? Yeah, somebody say 6? 1, 2.
Where do you get that
What do you mean? Where am I getting what?
when you say 6 blocks?
6 little blocks. How do we measure the PR interval? What is the PR interval? It's the beginning of the P wave to the beginning of the QRS, right? Isn't that what an interval is? A beginning of a wave to the beginning of the next one?
Mm-hmm.
So our PR interval is how many blocks are there in between? So again, okay, so we already described these things, and now we need to have the PR interval, right? That's our next thing on the list, right? That the next thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we need to measure that. So we're gonna start at the beginning of our P wave, right? Oh crap.
So are you counting the dots?
That's what I was wondering. Like when she says boxes, is she talking about dots?
Those dots represent the block. Hold on, let me give
Okay.
you a better look. Here, hold on. I get a better one. Oh, here, go here. This is a good one. Again, the PR, did y'all go? Hang on, because I want y'all to see what we were looking at, but we'll go back to that. For our PR interval, you see those dots on the other page really were just too light. You couldn't see that they represented little blocks. You see this?
Yeah, these are really light.
But can you see this where it says normal sinus rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
That's the page y'all are on. Y'all can see my screen.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So do you see here? Do you see in this complex, those little boxes? You have a big box, right?
Yeah.
And you have little boxes within it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what we were counting, is those little boxes.
Okay, because you know there's 5 in
Mhm.
each box.
Mhm.
Okay. So
So
you
what?
automatically know that.
That there's 5 in each one. Yeah.
Okay.
So I know that I see here, what do I see? In this, okay, between this R to R, how many big boxes are there? There's 1. Y'all see this one? There's 2. There's 3. There's 3 big boxes, right?
Yeah.
How many little boxes are in each one?
5.
5.
5. So we automatically know we have 15 little
I
boxes.
see more than 5 inside them.
Here?
Well, where are the 5 boxes at?
Those
do you mean?
little bitty squares.
Here, let's give you a different paper. Here, hold on. Because this is here, hold on. Let's give it here. Can y'all see that?
Yeah.
Do you see that? No. Do you see that?
Mhm.
That page?
Yes.
It's a blank page.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you see? This is your graph paper, right? Do you see the little boxes and the big boxes?
Mhm.
So you see here. I don't want to put my hand on it, but here's like your little box here, right? You see a bunch of those,
Yeah.
and then how many little boxes are in that?
Like,
It's standard every time. If you have one of these boxes, you are always gonna have 1, 2. Well, I can't draw, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? You're always gonna have 5.
5
Right.
columns.
Count them. There's always gonna be 5 little boxes in those big
Got a
ones.
bunch of these up there. Probably got 2 of them.
Does that make sense?
There's 6 bucks a piece.
Okay, so that's just like going across. But that's not total what's inside them, right?
What do you mean?
Like you're
I don't
counting.
understand how you get just 5 in that little box.
She's counting every box inside the big square
Mhm.
and instead of going across in one line.
Every little box on here, like these, do you see the ones that are like darker than the others? They're bigger. Like you have this, like, I can't draw straight, but you see that these boxes here on your graph paper,
Mhm.
each of those boxes is the same size, right?
Right.
And how many little boxes are in each of those?
So there's 5 across and then 5 going down. And
We only want
in
across.
each.
When we're measuring, what are we measuring?
The time, the speed of the
And each one
paper
of those
going.
blocks it. We're not measuring up and down. We are only measuring the number of boxes
Across.
across. You're going to put your
Okay.
caliper here,
Okay.
and you're going to put your caliper here, and that's from that to that is how many boxes. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So inside one of these boxes, if there's 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little boxes, right? And each little box represents 0.04 seconds. How many seconds is this big box?
20. Oh,
0.2.
0.20 seconds.
Yeah.
Because 4 times 5 is 0.20. That'll never change.
Okay, now going back to where we just were, the 15.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still times that 0.04?
If you have, wait, let's go back to where we were on that the one that looked like here. This one?
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all see this? Okay.
And we
So
got,
when we're back here, so if you're here, okay, so let's just go like one of these boxes, right? Let me just get a a color y'all can see here. One of these boxes is represents how much time. Y'all know I'm not straight.
0.20.
Is 0.20. And how many little boxes are inside there? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 little boxes, right? And each of those is 0.04. So if you're going to measure your PR interval, what do you know about the PR interval already? It has to be what? To be normal.
But it has to be between 0.12 and 0.20.
So that is your PR interval, right? So that's the third thing we got to look at, or fourth thing, whatever it is. So now we need to measure that, which is where you'd put your calipers, and you'd put the beginning, like you'd put the part of your caliper here, or you can use a piece of paper, honestly. I mean, and then you're going to put the other point right here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does everybody agree? It's where it lifts off the page. So basically you're going to start the beginning of your P wave starts about right here, right? Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Does everybody see that? That's where your P wave starts?
Yes.
Your PR interval is going to start right where it lifts off the page here to the beginning of the next one. So if you count those little blocks, how many do you see? And of course, I have this. So if I start, hold on. If I start at the beginning of this S wave, right, to here, how many little boxes do you see? There's one.
Just going across, right?
Well, yeah, you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So you do count the line, the dark line.
Well, that's going to be part of the box.
Okay. So
You know what I mean? Like if you have a box like this, and inside it you have this, this makes one square, right?
yes.
So you are counting. You're just going to put your caliper from here to here, and you're just going to count 1 block, 2 blocks, 3 blocks, 4 blocks, 5, 6. Y'all see those?
Yes.
Those 6 little blocks right there? Everybody in agreement? There's 6?
Yes.
There's 6 here. There's 6 here. If you count them, I bet there's 6 here. If you count here, if you go from here to here, like I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I started this a little late because it really should be more here. So that's 6. So that's pretty consistent time, right? But what's our PR interval?
0.12 to 0.20.
What is it?
That one would be 0.24.
So right, so there's 6 blocks times 0.04 is, what'd you say again? 0.24. Is that normal PR interval?
No.
That right there is going to tell us what this is. How do I know? Because I know already what it is. Y'all don't know what it is, but we can move on. QRS. Is there a QRS to every P? Are there QRSs look regular? Yeah. What is the measurement of your QRS? I wrote all over this. So
It's less than
somebody tell me,
0.12.
what is it? Tell me what it is, because you have to measure it. What is it?
Okay.
What's the measurement of your QRS?
0.04.
Yeah, I would call it 0.4 because I can eyeball it. But again, you might want to check it with your calipers, because the beginning of my beginning of my QRS right here to the end of my QRS is about 1 box, is it not? 1 to 1 right there. Even this one's not dead on, like it's there. Do y'all agree that's 1 box?
Yeah.
So that would be 0.04, right? So that's going to be our QRS. Is that normal?
Yes.
Okay, sure, it is. So then what do we look at? What's our next thing?
Identify the
The
rhythm.
rhythm? Okay, so I know what it is because I've studied it. We haven't got that far because y'all haven't figured out this yet, but I can tell you what this is. And how do we know? This. Everything else is normal, right? So is this normal sinus rhythm?
No.
I would call it sinus rhythm. Now, some people might call it's sinus rhythm because it's coming from the sinus. It all looks good. The one thing that doesn't look good is our P wave and the PR interval. What I know about that is that's a first degree heart block. There's something blocking that SA node to the AB node. There's something in that atrium that wants to act up. I know this, but look how consistent that is. Meaning, like, the doctor can go in there and maybe, do they generally fix this? No, it's not really causing any problems. It's just that your little atrium are deciding they're going to try to do their own thing. But that where it's firing from and where it's going in the atrium, there's a little something off. Something is trying to block that signal from getting to the ventricles, to the bundle of His. Do I know that? Yes, because this interval is not right. And I knew that when I looked at it, but I mean, you wouldn't know that, but I know they are all consistent. I mean, this person's fine. I could have this right now. Y'all could have it. It's a first degree heart block. There's nothing, I mean, and we'll get that. There's nothing really going on with this person. They're still running and they're still doing everything. It's just something in their atrium is a little blip on their conduction system. Do we watch that? When we worry about that is when it changes, and we'll get to that. But again, you identified everything but the actual rhythm. But again, once you learn these, you could go to your chart and only thing's wrong with this is the PR interval. So I have to ask myself, is my PR interval regular? The only thing you could say is that it's sinus rhythm with a first degree heart block. That's all you could say. That's it. That is how you identify this rhythm. Everything else was normal. That one thing it's like a game. You know, I look at it like it's kind of a game. Everything else was normal. So if you look at that, the only thing it can be is a first degree heart block. If you asked yourself, are these regular? And you said no, then we got to go a different direction. Why aren't they regular? Are they all over the place? Are they regular, irregular? Meaning, do I have 6 blocks here and 2 here, but 6 blocks and 2 blocks? No, yeah. So those are the questions you ask yourself. If you always go to your 6 steps, the only thing you can come up with here is first degree heart block. Of course, I'm not going to ask you that. I want you to learn how to measure this. That's the big thing. Anybody have questions about measuring that? If you do, don't feel bothered to ask me, because that is the basis of everything you're going to do. Karen, you good? See, I can only see Karen's hair right now, and Karen, and when you look confused, then I'm going to have to just be like,
No, I'm just looking at it. No, it looks good.
So you're good with the boxes. That's my.
Yeah, it's just 5 across. You just threw me off for a second. That's all.
When we measure, right, we're never going to measure anything but our baseline. Like, we want to start at this baseline. Now, if this was our wandering baseline, could I still measure this?
Mm-hmm.
If I had a bunch of artifact in here, could I measure it? That's why you got to fix your artifact. But as long as I can measure this, that wandering baseline doesn't matter. But everything is going to be measured in terms of this way, because we know what our PR should be, what our QRS should be, we know what that should be. So we're measuring normal sinus. Everybody get that part? You say yes. Okay, so I've got some here. Hold on, everybody hold tight, because I have actual rhythm strips that I jacked from the other website where I got the guest question. See, here's another one with a first degree heart block. Oh, let's look at that. No, we don't want that. No. No. Hold on. I will show y'all. Can y'all see what's on your screen now?
You're just looking at stuff.
Oh, you can see y'all might close your eyes. Hold on one second. Here. So again, and I can send y'all these too, but again, all this is going to be standard. One large box. We're only ever measuring this way. Do you see that one?
Mm-hmm.
So how many complexes do you see? 4, basically, because we're missing that. Okay, so let's add 2 because this is clearly not 6 seconds. So let's ask ourselves, if there was 2 more, what would our rate be?
50.
Okay, so our rate is going to be 50. Okay, so we're going to call our rate 50. Okay, now is this regular? Can I march this
No.
out?
No.
Why
Can
not?
you what?
Can I march that out? How do you determine if it's regular?
Well, the heart rate is not regular.
We're not worried about that.
Close.
We already determined what that was, right? We're
Mhm.
going on to number 2. Is this
Oh.
regular? Can you march this out? Is there the same number of
Yes.
blocks between complexes?
Yes.
Everybody agree with that? This is kind of light, but even still, you could march this out. If you took a piece of paper, take a piece of paper from where you are and literally march it, hold the paper. Y'all can't see, but I'm holding the edge of my paper and making a mark and a mark between. You can move the paper and it will march right out. Yeah? So
How
we're
did
going
you
to say,
come up with 50 again? I'm sorry.
because this is 30, what we're looking at, but this is in a 6-second strip. So I said, let's just pretend that there's 2 more over here.
Okay.
So that's how we're going to get 50. Hold on. Y'all hanging tight 1 second because I'm about to lose battery power. Hold on. Let me just, hold on. I'll be right back. I got to get my charger.
Mhm.
Really? Have to just bark like that? Huh? You did? Oh, yeah. Looks like this. Oh, shit. You two go lay down. Go lay down. Okay, I'm back. I'm plugged up. Y'all can hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Can y'all hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, well, if I put my ear in, it'll be all right. Okay, there, I'm back. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So where were we? 50. We've determined it's 50. Is it regular?
Yes.
Do y'all all agree with that? Yes, no, maybe? Yes.
Yes.
So we're all in agreement that that's regular. Okay. So what is the next thing we're going to ask ourselves?
P wave.
Right. So I'm going to examine one of these complexes, right? Do y'all agree that that's one? And here's one. And here's one. So let's look at these. So let's just pick this one here in the middle. Somebody tell me what the P wave looks like.
It's like the hump.
It's a hump, right? It's rounded.
It's round, positive deflection.
Okay. Does it look regular? Is there 1-to-1?
They look alike here.
Okay. So we're going to say that this is regular. We're going to say our P is positive. It's round. Looking good. Okay. What's the next thing we're going to do?
Our QRS wave.
Mm-mm. What's the next thing we do?
Oh,
Measure.
our interval.
6 steps, right? So our third one is our interval.
Yeah.
Now you can't see these blocks really well, but let's just say our interval is going to go from the beginning of this P wave to the beginning of the S wave, right? Or to the QRS. So let's just take a stab that's got to be like, what does that look like to y'all?
Six blocks maybe.
At least 6, because look, here's 1. And then we know there's 5, even though we can't see them, we know there's 5 in there, right?
Right.
And there might be a little one right here. So that might even be 7. Because look,
Okay.
you see how we're getting, like, that's maybe a half, but then if you look over here, that's the same. We know, again, 6, 7, again, what's our PR interval? Even if it's 6, is 0.24, right? If it's 7, it would be 0.28, right?
Uh-huh.
So our let's call our PR interval 0.28. Okay, let's keep moving. Is that normal?
No.
No. So we're going to star that. QRS. What are we going to do? We're going to measure our QRS, right? Is it upward? Is it positive?
Yes.
What is our measurement? So when you measure this, what is the distance from the beginning to the end? How many boxes is that?
Across or
Always.
tall?
No.
Oh, it's always
We are
across.
always measuring.
So
this way.
1.
Is it 1?
It's
Look over here. This one you can
Hold
see.
on. Which one we on?
They're
Okay.
all the same. This is where calipers come in handy.
So it's like 1.5.
Okay, I'd call it 1.5. You could even call it 2, but we'll go with 1.5. So then what is our QRS?
It's supposed to be under less
But what
than
is it?
0.12.
If you told me it was 1.5, what is it?
0.06.
Yeah.
Yep, 0.06.
0.06.
Is that normal? Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So then what's our next question?
Our rhythm.
Yeah. So is this a sinus rhythm?
Mm-hmm.
Why? You're right, but tell me why.
It's got
a pattern.
It's got what?
Everything is over and under what it's supposed to be.
Well, no, it's not. Mm-mm.
what the PR interval
Interval,
was.
remember?
off.
But again, I'm asking, is a sinus? How do we know it's a sinus rhythm? We have a P wave, right?
A
We have
QRS
a
wave and a
QRS
T wave.
So
It's a
if I have
heartbeat.
these things, is that a sinus rhythm?
Hmm.
Is that normal sinus rhythm?
No.
Right. First of all, we know if the heart rate is 50 and we have all this, that's bradycardia right off the bat. If your heart rate is less than 60, that's bradycardia, right? Does everybody know that? Like less than 60, it's slow. It's bradycardia, right? Greater than 100 is called what?
Tachycardia.
Tachycardia. So already we know about this, it's Brady. But does that make it non-sinus rhythm? No, it just means it's slow. It's normal, kind of. It's still got the P, the QRS, and the T, but it's slow. But I know it's sinus because it's coming from your P. Look how beautiful that P wave looks, right? So it's sinus rhythm. It's actually sinus Brady is what you would call it, sinus bradycardia. But again, is that all we can say about it? Don't we have to address something else that was wrong here? Now we're getting ahead of ourselves, but we're learning about measuring. But again, could you
PR,
just leave it? No. Right. What were you gonna say?
the PR
PR
interval
interval
is off.
is too wide, right?
Mm.
And again, I know, and you guys will know soon, that if we have this consistent wide PR, it was always 0.28, right? Because it's not different, it's all the same. That's another first degree heart block. So that is sinus bradycardia with a first degree heart block. If that was a normal PR interval, you would just call this sinus bradycardia. That's what it is. Does that make sense? Let's leave the heart block out. Just say this counted that you were 0.20. Okay, so that would be normal. So your rate was 50. Your P waves were round and they were upright, right? Your PR interval was 0.20 or 0.20, right? Your QRS was 0.06. Was it we missed it. Was it regular? Yeah. Can you say, did we say it was regular?
We marched it out, yeah.
Yep. So we have all of this. So can we say that's a sinus rhythm,
Hmm.
but we call it a
Yeah.
sinus
Brady.
Brady? And the only reason is because it's slow. That's why we can't call it normal sinus rhythm, because normal sinus rhythm would be 60 to 100. Did I lose anyone? Does that make sense? Do you have questions? Is this like crazy, ridiculous? Farah, Charity,
Yes.
Jess, Rachel, Brianna,
Yes.
everybody, this makes sense to y'all, or have I lost you? Do we want me to take a shot? What do we need to do? Something. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
Okay.
Except for the naming part, but
Except for, but we're not naming right now. All we're naming it now is normal sinus rhythm or sinus bradycardia or sinus tachycardia. That's as far as we've gotten. So y'all aren't expected to know the naming, but you are naming it already, because how do you know? You just, and that's where I had to beat it into them last semester. Go by the steps. Don't evaluate as you go, write them down. Tell me what is wrong here. Because if once you get to naming them, there's only a few things it can be. I have a game too that we can play later when we start to have to like really know the rhythms, is that it's like, is it this? Like, is it regular or irregular? Well, if it's regular, then it can't be all of these things. It has to only be these. So is it slow? Is it that? I mean, literally you're not diagnosing, but you're naming these rhythms based on what you can see right here, because it can't be anything else. Like if you can, that's why if you can measure, if you can recognize, if you can tell where this started, you're not going to have any problems, because where did this electrical conduction start?
I say no.
Right. Now, if this was flat, if there was nothing there, Where did that start?
And the AV or the
AV starts where? Is that in the atrium?
yes.
Do you see, if you don't see any PR, you see nothing. If
Bundle
this
of
is the
Higgs.
first thing you see, where did that where did that conduction start?
QRS.
Wait, but where's that?
In the bundle of Higgs.
But where's that?
In the
The
ventricle.
septum.
In the what? Wait, somebody said it.
Septum.
Nope,
In the ventricle.
in the ventricles. Where, what does what does this equal to? Ventricular contraction, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Or depolarization. So if I don't have this and all I have is this, where did my electrical impulse start?
In your ventricle.
In the ventricles. That's what we know. Here it's starting in the atrium, then the electrical impulse is going to the ventricles, then it's going to depolarize, and it's going to start over. It's just SA node, AV node, bundle of His, right and left, Purkinje fibers, and then back to start over. That's all this is. Look at that scribble. Can you imagine what my board looks like at the end of the night? Oh my God. So then that's what we're asking. I mean, that is what you're seeing. So you're seeing the mechanical action in the heart as the electricity is generated and flows. Does that make sense? Does it all kind of tie together?
Yeah.
Blood flow. Remember, we learned blood flow, then we learned electrical flow, the valves, how they close and shut. That's what this is right here. You got your heart, you got your little chambers, you got your SA node, you got your this, you got these two and your Purkinje fibers, you got your atrium, right? And your ventricles. It looks like that is your P wave and your QRS and your T wave. Here's your P wave. If it's not here, if this is the only thing you see, then there's nothing being generated up there. You have a problem. Do y'all not think this is a problem if you get down here? First of all, what's the intrinsic rate that starts in the ventricles?
40
40.
Right,
to 60.
40 to 60. So that is telling me if if this ventricle is what's generating our electrical impulse instead of the SA node or the AV node, we need to do something, because can we sustain at that?
No.
No.
I do have a question about this one.
Okay.
Okay, so it's saying it started on the SA node because you have your P wave, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the heart rate is 50, and the SA
Right.
node should be 60 to 100.
Mm-hmm. It's slow
So,
for some reason.
but it's still the SA node, even though it's
Yeah.
not 60,
Why do you
Okay.
know that?
because the P wave.
Yeah. So it's sinus bradycardia. That heart is slow. Why is it slow? Maybe I'm an athlete. Maybe I'm just so friggin' in shape that my heart doesn't really have to beat hard to sustain. Maybe I'm on a medicine that makes my heart slow. Maybe I have a heart problem. My heart is still beating normally, but there is something causing it to beat slow. Because this is a normal heartbeat, right? We have all our parts. It's pretty, it's regular, it's doing what it should, except for our block, but we're not going to talk about that right now. This is coming from the sinus. It's just bradycardic. If it was faster, if you had one in here and our rate was 110 because I've been running to my mailbox, would that be normal sinus rhythm? No. Would it be a sinus rhythm? Is that a normal heartbeat? Yeah. So you would call it sinus tachycardia. So when you run and your heart rate goes up to 120, is your heart still beating properly? Yes, just fast. And it's still generated where?
SA node.
Right, still generated in the atrium. This is what you're looking for, this normal complex. That's why when you look at a strip, you want to find, I always try to find the most normal one I can find to try to base my rhythm on, like try to base what I'm naming this, because my God, sometimes you'll get like atrial fib and you can't make out jack, but you try to find the most normal one in the whole strip and kind of go from there. Because they're not always going to look pretty. But again, what makes up our cardiac complex? What makes up our complex? What makes it normal, or what makes it sinus? That's what we should say, not normal. It's sinus. What do we call sinus rhythm? Has to have what? A P, a QRS, and a T wave.
Mm-hmm.
And this has to be 1-to-1, right? Can't be like, if I have 4 P waves to every 1 QRS, that's a problem, right? That means that my atrium are beating 4 times to every 1 ventricle beat. What is that? It's called atrial flutter. You'll get to recognize that. That's the easiest one in the book. It looks exactly the same. They're beautiful. It looks like a saw. They're even. You can count those 4 or 5. Oh, damn it. Did it again. There. Did that work? Yep. So that, again, but that wouldn't be 1-to-1, would it? If it was 4?
No.
No. Your P to Q really should be 1-to-1. But if I see this beautiful 4-to-1, then I know, oh, I know what that is. We'll get there. But is that an atrial rhythm? Yep. Because you have P wave. It's when you stop seeing a P wave that you have a problem. All right, let's go back here. Any more questions on that? Because there's some practice ones I'm going to show you. It's let me go. Are you seeing your book on like 90? Let's all look at your book. Does everybody have their book?
Mm-hmm.
So even if you don't have your calipers yet, let me just show you how to do it without them, because honestly, sometimes it's easier because calipers can be a mess. So if I'm going to measure, like everybody, it's on page 90 where the practice ones are.
Yes.
You see that? Is that where we are? No, go back. Let's see. Wasn't there one? Is that just P waves? Okay, yeah, I guess so. So where like 90 is, you see practice number 1?
Mm-hmm.
And it wants you to measure your PR interval. So actually, if you took a piece of paper like this, can y'all see my paper? And I'm going to hold my paper up and I'm going to mark on the book. Okay, so I'm going to look at this book. And if y'all look at number 1, I'm going to hold my paper up and I'm going to put this little line, I'm going to put a line right on my paper where the beginning of the the beginning of the P wave is and the beginning of my QRS. Y'all see, I measured on my paper. Can y'all see that? And I made that little line on my paper.
Hold on. Yeah.
All I did was hold my paper up to the P, up to the complex, and put a line where the beginning of my P was and a line where the beginning of the QRS. Then I'm gonna hold that up to my little boxes and I'm gonna see that that's about 5. So what did y'all get for number 1? You could use your calipers too. Put your calipers in point at the beginning of the PR or the P wave and the beginning of the QRS wave, and then move it to a set of blocks up above so you can get it out of the way, and tell me how many blocks there are.
Five.
Yeah, that's what I got. What method did you use? Calipers or paper?
Paper.
Or you can eyeball it, actually. I mean, I
Yeah.
could, even with my glasses on, I can kind of count that there's 5 little boxes.
Yeah.
So what's my PR interval? What is it? You told me it was 5, so what's my PR interval?
5.
Who was that was telling me
Hold
that?
on.
Rachel?
0.20.
0 point.
Mhm.
2.
Right, 0.20. So my PR interval is 0.20.
That was me that said 5.
Oh, well, but see, 5 times 0.04 is what? 0.20. So number 1 should be 0.20. Again, you can use paper. You can use, like, I do the paper for my R to R too, because honestly, these calipers are not great quality because, you know, they were bought by the school, but then they move around a little bit. But honestly, if you can march them out and never have to move them, then you can tell it's regular. You just have to get it at the right spot. It's knowing where that is. And wait, I think I actually have a video of that. Hold on. Can y'all see my screen? Y'all measure number 2 and tell me what y'all get. Your PR interval.
I got 5 again.
Did everybody else get 5? And these are little, so I mean,
I don't know. It could be 4.
what did y'all get? Did you use your calipers?
4.
4? So what's your
So it'd
PR
be
interval?
16.
Right,
16.
exactly. I think I had a, okay, here we go with this crazy girl here, but, right, let's go with her here. I don't know, can y'all,
Writing's not
oh
that
my
easy,
God, that's
but
loud.
Grammarly can help.
Can y'all hear that?
Sentence is grammatically.
Yeah.
Let's skip her,
Hey
okay.
everyone, it's Sarah with
This was the girl.
and today we're going to go over how to measure the PR interval on
This might be
EKG.
good because you can see it
In
this
our
way.
previous videos, we went over how to interpret EKGs. We've also went over how to calculate the QRS complex
Oh,
and
we
how
don't
to
care about
count the heart rate using the 6 cover the PR interval. Now, before we get started, we're going to have to lay some foundation work
No, we don't.
to
We already did.
how to measure the PR interval.
We did.
What is the PR interval? Measures AV conduction
Yeah, we don't care
interval
about that.
is 0.12 to 0.2 seconds long. Whenever you're measuring your PR interval on EKG strip, it's really important you pay attention to see what the measurements are and that it measures normal. Because if not, it could represent a heart. So we'll be covering heart blocks in my other video. And how you measure this is through the squares on the EKG strip. On your EKG strip, you have your PQRS, and behind that in the background are squares. Those squares tell so much about what's going on with that heart rate.
This is what we were talking about, Karen, with the squares.
Represent a fraction of time. This right here is a large square. And in the large square, you have a lot of small squares. And that's what we're paying attention to in the PR interval. You want to pay attention to the small squares. And a normal PR interval, as we said, is 0.12 to 0.20 seconds, which represents 3 to 5 small squares. So when you're measuring that, which we'll do a little bit later, you want to make sure that your PR interval measures within 3 to 5 small squares until the beginning of the QRS complex. And right there behind me, I have a sample PQRS complex. It's blown up so you can see it better. You have your P wave, your QRS complex, then you have your P wave and sometimes a U wave.
Yes, you should talk about the U wave.
So when you measure the PR interval, you're going to start at the beginning of the P wave, which is represented by this line here, and you're going to stop at the beginning of where the QRS starts. So you'll be measuring from here to here. And when you're measuring, you're looking at your small block, which is the background block behind the EKG strip, and making sure that it measures between 3 to 5. Okay, we have our sample EKG, and so test your knowledge to see if we can measure the PR interval. So remember, the PR interval, we're looking for 3 to 5 small boxes, and we're going to count at the beginning of the P wave, the beginning of the QRS complex. So behind us, we have a sample. It's blown up, as you can tell. So
it's good to look at like this because you can get a bigger picture.
The boxes. These boxes represent the small boxes. Remember, you have large boxes with little small boxes in between. So these are small boxes. So very first thing you want to do is you want to find your P wave. P wave is right here. And you want to look for the beginning of it, which is right here. That's the beginning of our P wave. So we're going to start with this box. Then we're going to find the beginning of our QRS complex. And this is our Q wave, and we know that this is our QRS. So what we're going to do is we're going to mark the beginning of the QRS, which is right here. Now, all we have to do is count. And we're going to count how many boxes are in between those two measurements. And we have 1, 2, 3. Remember, each box represents 0.04 seconds. So 0.04 times 3, because there's 3 boxes, equals a PR interval of 0.12 seconds. And this PR interval is normal, because remember, any PR interval between 0.12 to 0.20 is normal. Anything over that, you may have a heart block. So that is how you measure the PR interval. Please check out our other videos on how to measure QRS complex.
So did that make sense when you saw it up there like that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. It's good to sometimes get it that perspective because you're looking at it like I would be giving it to you on the board. So it's harder to do it. But when you look at it this way, then you go and measure. So did y'all, let's look at number 3. What did y'all get for that?
0.24.
0.20.
Oh, so we got some description. But see, again, that's where it is the fact that we all see it differently. So let me see, because my light is terrible. But let me see. What number are we on? 3?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go from the beginning. It looks kind of wide. Let's see. To the beginning. So I'm going to say, honestly, it's probably a little bit wide. To me, it looks like it's 0.22. Like it's half of that block. But again, are they going to split hairs on a test? No. It's going to be obviously wider or not. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So let's say that was 5 blocks. Let's call it 5. So then our PR interval would be 0.20, right? Yeah.
That's what I got. I don't know if it's
0.20. Well, I mean, again, we're talking about the difference in like half of a block. And again, that's where I'll tell you what the book has, but yeah, we're not worried about that little bit of something because guess what? So go back here to look at page 89. Do y'all see that on page 89?
Yes.
So if you look at that little side that says a normal R to R, if you take your calipers or your paper, right in the middle, you see that R to R that looks really good at the top, that top block.
At the top of the complex.
You see that top block here in your book on page 89?
Yeah.
Y'all see what I'm talking about? This one. Like, can y'all see that? Yeah. So you see that R to R interval, right? But then look at the next one down. That R to R interval is not right. Because you see that other complex right there in the middle? Like that wonky looking beat in the middle?
Mhm.
That throws off your R to R. So that's going to make it irregular. But actually, when we march out those, what that's telling you is there's an early beat there, like a PVC or PAC. We'll get to that. But it just wants you to recognize what a normal R to R looks like. So if you keep going, you can go back and y'all can finish the ones for like the PR intervals. But I think you all get the point. It's really just measuring the beginning of the P to the beginning of the QRS. Okay. So how about measuring the QRS? Does everybody get that? Do you know how to measure that one? So look on page 92 and tell me what number 1 is. What's your QRS?
It would be 0.4.
Does everybody agree with that?
I see 2 square.
Number 1?
I mean, there is 1 square and another half.
Yeah, see how it's these little ones are kind of deceiving, but I would venture to say that we could call that just 1.
Okay.
Because like these practice ones, like they really want you to just be able to tell like what you look at number 10. First of all, our deflection is going down, but can you still measure that? Yeah. What is that? Number 10, tell me what that is. If it helps you to flip your book upside down, then do that. But what's your QR interval? Your QRS complex, what does it measure? 0.1.
20.
How many little blocks are y'all getting?
5.
Like 4.
I'm probably getting like 4.5, so we can call it 5 because we already know that it's not right. So if that's 0.04 times, so it's 0.20. Is that is that a normal QRS?
No.
No. So that's why when you look at these, your QRS has to be less than 0.12 because you're going to put that down there because again, you're going to know. Look at 19. Not that we're there yet, but just look at number 19. What happens to your ST segment? Just knowing what you know already. What happens there? Look at your ST segment. What should it do?
It should be a line.
It should be a segment. It should be that line between your S and your T. What is it doing?
It's drooping down.
That is ST segment depression. That is telling me this person is having some kind of heart complication. Are they having a heart attack? Have they previously had a heart attack? Are they actively having a heart attack? This probably means this person has had a heart attack in the past, but if your ST segment is below or above the baseline, then we know what? Oh, there's a problem. That's when you hear ST segment, that's not normal. So when you go, measuring all these, just want you to measure. Okay, so now go to page 94. We're going to do a couple of these. Y'all can finish them for homework, but again, let's do some of these together. So number 1, let's just each take one. So I'm just going to start at the beginning of my list and each take one. Y'all look at it and measure for yourselves. But Jess, tell me, let's go number 1. What is the heart rate? And tell me how you're going to get there. It's okay.
This is,
What are the 3 ways you can get a heart rate?
I'm gonna do the 6-second thing.
But what are the 3 ways you can get there?
6-second, the large block, and the small block.
So we're going to use, because we can look at that, right? And it looks pretty regular. But again, let's use our 6-second, because if you can use it, because others are harder. I don't want to do the math, but if you need to, you know how, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so let's look at that. Let me get my book here. So I don't even have the answers in front of me. We're all going to just do them together. What's my heart rate?
90.
And how do you know this? What is the very
There's
first thing we see on this strip?
the calibration thing.
Yep, exactly. So then tell me, you see how many complexes?
9.
Everybody agree with that?
Yes.
Okay, now tell me what the next, is it, okay, it goes side to side. So is it regular?
It looks regular. I
can
don't
you-
have I'm gonna grab my
okay.
calipers.
Okay, so here's what you do. You take a piece of paper like I did, right? Okay, and you hold your paper. I wish I could show y'all this, but if you hold your paper and make like between one complex, right? And you make a mark where that R is here, and then the next R where it is. Like I literally sat my paper on the top and marked one R and then the next one. You see that? On my paper? You see where I
Green
made
is
those
just
two
like
marks?
your,
I'm sorry? Can you see my
can't-
paper?
Yes,
no.
Do you see the two little marks I made on my paper?
yes,
No,
You don't?
I do.
no.
There's a mark at one R and there's a mark.
Oh, okay. Yes, yes, yes,
So then you're
yes.
going to slide your paper over, and do those marks line up to every single R and R? Do they march right on over?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I can take my paper and literally go from R to R, R to R, R to R, and it consistently it measures. So are we calling that regular?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So do you see your P wave?
Yes.
Okay, is there one P wave to every QRS?
Yes.
What does your P wave look like? Describe it to me. What are the couple of things I need to know?
It looks round and positive, so it's normal.
Okay, so then what are we doing? Our QRS duration. So measure that. We already know it's regular, so they're going to have to all be the same, right?
Measure the QRS.
Yeah, because your QRS, it's asking you for your QRS duration.
So do I need to measure the P wave too? Or the
No, what's your QRS
interval?
duration? Is the beginning of the QRS complex, which is the Q, to the end of it, where the S is, where the ST segment starts.
It's
So
about one block.
I'm sorry?
It's about one block.
Yeah, I would say
So-
you would be maybe,
Maybe 1.5, maybe.
yeah, you'd be right to say it was 1.5 or, yeah. So then what's your QRS duration? If you called it 1.5, what is our duration?
0.06.
Okay. So now we've filled in all those blocks. That's not what it's asking us, but I'm asking you, what are you going to call that?
What did you put for your
Normal
PR
sinus.
interval?
What? What'd you put for what?
What did you say the PR interval was?
What did we say it was? 0.16?
No, we didn't do that one.
Or
With
did we
the
not do PR interval?
QRS.
I'm sorry, we skipped, because I'm used to going down. This goes across. So what did we say our PR interval was? Jess,
About
beginning of the P to beginning of the QRS.
1, 2, 3, maybe 0.16.
Okay, that's what I got. And so we know what our QRS duration was.
0.06.
Okay, so that's
What
what
did you say PR interval was?
0.16.
0.16. So that would be normal sinus.
Normal sinus rhythm. Yes. What if your heart rate was 50? What would you call it?
Brady sinus.
Sinus, it would still be sinus rhythm, but you call it sinus bradycardia. But again, with this exercise, all it's doing is getting you to measure and get used to measuring and get used to doing this. So let's do number 2. Karen, go ahead. Take number 2 for us. What's your heart rate?
I put 70.
So does everybody agree with that? I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. Anybody see anything different?
No.
So our rate is,
70.
okay. So is it regular?
Yes.
Why?
I marched it out.
Now, the P wave, tell me what that is, what it looks like.
P wave is not round. It is positive.
When it's saying rounded,
It's not.
well, but is it not?
I mean, I thought you said that's what we say if it's not round.
Well, see, this is, it's rounded. Okay, if it was really
One of them
pointy,
is, I mean, like some of them are and some are not.
you're gonna have a little tiny bit of variation, but again, if it was really peaked, you would know it. If your potassium is really high, you'll see that peaked T wave. If you're having a little problem, it'll be notched. It'll look like a cowboy hat almost. But
If I
if
look
it's-
at the very first one, it's perfectly rounded.
and they should all pretty much look like that if you're calling this regular. again, it's electrical activity. So it's always going to have a little bit of like, like it's not going to be perfect. But again, you can look at those and tell they're all upright. They're all pretty rounded. Like I don't see anything pointy. I don't see anything flat. I don't see flat where it'd be like come up and instead at the top it'd be just flat. We're going to call those rounded. We're going to call those normal. Just
All right.
because when you see abnormal, you'll know it. But there's 1-to-1, right? So that's what else we want to know. So what do we want to know about our P? It's upright. It's morphology. Its shape is good. Just call it as a good shape, right? And there's 1-to-1. So what's our PR interval?
Oh, I did the QRS. I'm sorry.
That's okay. I know I tend to go, but the first thing you want to do is your PR interval because that you want
Okay,
to keep
PR
saying-
interval would be
Let me get my little things out here. But again, y'all can use a piece of paper. Because all you're doing is measuring them against the boxes. So you
So
would take,
4, 4.5.
I would say 4 is a good guess.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So
then
16.
actually, if you measure you measure it, and your calipers look like this, you have them that wide apart. Just slide it up to the top of your paper where it's away from the complex, and you can get a better view of how many boxes it is. Does that make sense? Just slide it up to the top where you can actually see how many boxes. So if you're 4, so then your PR interval is 0.16.
16.
And now what's your, nope, 0.16, right? Always
Yeah.
say the point, 'cause you write something on the
0.16.
test.
Okay.
What is
And the
your-
QRS,
How many
I'm
boxes?
going to say that is 4.5, 5.
On your
Wait a
QRS?
minute. I'm doing QRS. I'm sorry.
QRS is,
That's 2. 1.5
Okay.
to 2.
so say it's 2. So then
Yeah.
it's 0.08, right?
Right.
Okay. So then what are we calling this? What can you determine from all of those things?
Well, it's not normal
Why isn't
sinus rhythm.
Why is it not normal?
Because the heart rate is not between 60. Oh, wait, it is 60. Okay, hold on. I got thrown off for a second. Normal, so the PR interval is 16. And then one is 0.108. So it is normal.
All your things are normal. So is
Okay.
it fair to conclude that that is normal sinus rhythm?
That is normal sinus rhythm.
That is normal sinus rhythm. So we can do more of these, or I know it's 9 o'clock, so I'm not trying to hold anybody up, but if y'all want to do some more, that's fine. If you want to try these on your own and meet again, whatever, y'all just tell me. I'm good either way. Do y'all feel comfortable measuring these and filling this out?
Yeah, I do.
How about anybody else need all extra? Let's look at one more. Look at 96. Let's all look at that one before we go. So Farah, look at that one. Tell me what the heart rate is.
Page 96. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. I see 5 square. So
No,
60.
like what you're counting the heart rate. So how many QRS complexes do you see?
Oh. QRS.
Like how many
1, 2,
R's do you see?
4, 5.
Then there's one at the very beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, you could
But-
count that, but you
what
don't see
you
the whole,
said
but you
now.
know that's a beat in your 6-second strip, and you see at the very end of your strip how you see that P wave, but you don't see the rest of it.
Right.
So
It
you
could be
would be
more.
fair to say that's 60. Let's just
Okay.
call it that. Okay. So is it regular? Does it march out?
Not regular.
So it's not regular. I can't march it out. If I put my caliper from one R to the
No.
next, I should never have to move it. So I've used the first one was this, but if I go from the second one to the third one, oh, I'm still here, right, with my calipers. But if I go to the third to the fourth, I have to move my calipers. Now they're only this wide.
Right.
Then I have to move them again. Is that regular? Even just eyeballing it,
No.
right? Does it have, do your P waves all look all right? Is your P wave, what does your P's look like? All of them except one looks the same, do they not?
Right.
So I'm going to go with my most normal looking ones. I'm always going to try to pick 2 or 3 beats out that look normal. So tell me, let's look at the second complex that you can see the whole thing. How's that P wave look? Is it upright?
It's upright.
Is it rounded? I
And
mean,
it's rounded and it has that notch.
But we're not too worried about the notch. We're
Okay.
going to just say that it's rounded and it's upright. What's our
Right.
PR interval?
The number,
Yeah, when you measure PR interval, how many boxes is that?
is it 4.5?
Yeah, I think you could call it 5 actually. You could even go a little bit, but let's just call it 5. So our PR interval is what?
5 and
So that's 0.20.
0.20, right?
What's our QRS complex duration?
QRS, it's 1.
So it's 1. So our QRS is 0.04.
0.04.
So is this a sinus rhythm?
Yes.
Right, because except for that one little jacked up beat in the middle, all the rest of these are all sinus, right? They're all coming from
Right.
sinus. So you can call this sinus rhythm, but again, in this EKG, you need to say like an arrhythmia. Remember we studied arrhythmia was like something that was like not normal, right?
Right.
So this would be called a sinus arrhythmia. Now I can
Okay.
tell you, I'm sorry,
What was the P wave again?
point
Normal.
point
It was
20.
normal.
0.20 and it was normal.
Okay.
But what's happening here is like you see that how that one beat is throwing everything off.
Yeah.
Yes.
That like it's the 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth one you see over if you include the very first one. That fifth beat, what's happening there is an extra beat. That is an extra beat. The atrium, you can see it has a P wave. It's depressed. That means it's firing, but there's an extra beat. That's like a premature atrial contraction. And we will learn that, but that's what's happening. It's just going along nice, bump, 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 bump. And then your atrium decided it wanted to throw some extra in there. So it just, it gave you an extra beat that followed through, but it threw off your rhythm. But you see it picks right back up. It throws your rhythm off right there, but then if you could see the whole strip, it would keep going, bump, bump, bump. Every once in a while, you're just throwing out it's just like a premature ventricle contraction. That is a premature atrial contraction because you see the P wave. It's basically an extra beat. So that's sinus rhythm with an extra beat. What you would call it sinus arrhythmia, meaning it's not normal, but it's still sinus rhythm. Sinus arrhythmia. Remember that. Arrhythmia means not normal, right? So that's it. You have an arrhythmia there. You can measure it out. You can fill out those blanks and you know it's not normal. But you can't know, you don't know what it's called, but I know that's an arrhythmia. It's just, and then again, when you learn, as you know, you'll be able to see that whole beat has a PQRST. It's just early. It's early. That atrium decided to beat early. Threw things off. So do those and start like really get through that, like those, and try to measure them out. I'll send y'all the answers because then you'll be able to look to see if you got them right. So then you can check yourselves. But if you have problems with those or questions, let me know. We can meet again. In fact, I'll put some times down. We can go over them. Look at those videos. If you watch those videos, they're good to get a perspective where you can actually see it. You know what I mean? Like, so anybody have questions? Y'all, so do all those practice ones in the back of 8. Finish those out, measure them. If you don't get your calipers, you should get them. And you can use a piece of paper to measure. Anybody have questions?
So our test is Tuesday, right?
On chapter 8. Mhm. But if y'all want to get together and study before then, I'm available Sunday night. I'm available Friday night. Well, Friday, no. Monday. I mean, I can do whatever y'all want if you just want individual, but just go through 8 and go back through it and read and try to write yourself notes and go through measuring and what normal sinus rhythm should look like, what the normal is, and then go through these, your PR interval, your QRS. If you can answer those ones in the back, ones, then you're getting it. Fill those blanks out. You're not having to name it. They're not asking you to name the rhythm. They're asking you to fill out those blanks. I'll send y'all the answers, and I will send y'all a little study guide. And like I said, if I can find more videos and handouts, we just need to make sure you know what the cardiac conduction system is, what a normal beat is, what it involves, what is happening when it's normal, all your different nodes and their intrinsic rates. Are y'all feeling better about this? Does it start to make a little bit more sense?
Yes.
Yes.
Mhm.
Just know what normal is. Know that in one complex, normal means you have one of everything. All right. And if y'all have questions, just let me know, or you want to meet up, I will explain it to you. Sometimes it helps to sit and see it in person and measure it out. But y'all just let me know. Okay.
Okay.
Yes. No. I'll send the answers, but measure them and do that before you look at the answers. Just check yourself so you can know what you're doing wrong. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Y'all call me if you need me.
Thank you.
Night.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.